Hello everyone, this is Yoko. In this channel, I will be sharing information in English that I have gathered regarding events happening in China, which may not be widely known in other countries. I obtain information from various media sources, and I would appreciate your comments on the content of the videos. If you find the content interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel and supporting us. In today's discussion, I want to talk about a topic from a little while ago, a strike that occurred in China. It seems that several thousand North Korean workers in China have initiated strikes and disturbances as part of their protest against unpaid wages. By the way, this incident was reported in an article on January 19, and it highlights the unrest caused by North Korean workers in China. It's fascinating to see stories like these finally coming to light. Upon further investigation into the articles, it's surprising to find that the information source is the Japanese industrial newspaper. Upon searching in Japanese, I found articles from this newspaper, which contain information based on their independent investigation. When transitioning to English media, it appears that the information is reported shortly after circulating in English, suggesting a high level of interest in English-speaking regions. Now, let's delve a bit deeper into the content. North Korea dispatches workers to the Jilin province in China on a significant scale. Over time, unpaid wages have accumulated in several factories in Jilin province. In response, strikes and disturbances have escalated, involving thousands of people. Firstly, it's important to note that dispatching workers in this manner is actually prohibited by resolutions of the United Nations Security Council. In essence, North Korea sends workers, diverts their wages, and utilizes the funds for military development. From the perspective of cutting off this source of funds, the UN Security Council prohibits the acceptance of North Korean workers. However, concerning United Nations resolutions, not only China but many countries tend to selectively cite them when convenient and ignore them when inconvenient. For example, Japan, which contributes significantly to the UN, often expresses dissatisfaction when resolutions restrict actions. However, this is a separate issue. On the other hand, China tends to ignore UN resolutions when they go against its interests. In this case, it appears that China is not paying the wages that should be given to North Korean workers. It's not that they are not paying the workers, rather, the wages that should be paid are being diverted to North Korea, leaving the workers unable to receive them. In China, many people who are employed do not receive their salaries. This is due to the worsening economic environment and declining corporate performance. In Japan, wages are prioritized, much like taxes, and unpaid wages are often seen as a sign that a company is on the verge of bankruptcy. However, in China, when those in vulnerable positions bear the burden, workers ultimately feel powerless even if their wages are not paid. Filing a lawsuit or paying a lawyer takes time, and during that period, without receiving wages, it becomes difficult to sustain life. As a result, companies often induce workers to quit voluntarily by not paying their wages. As mentioned earlier, rather than not paying wages, companies in China declare long-term closures. For example, when orders decrease and factories cannot operate, they want to lay off workers, but to do so, they must pay severance. Therefore, they announce, "We will be on a 6-month hiatus." During this hiatus, they are not obligated to provide full payment, and in some cases, they are only required to pay a portion. Those who cannot make a living with this income tend to quit voluntarily. Many Chinese companies adopt this strategy. So, in this case, I initially thought that the management of the company employing North Korean workers was deteriorating, and money was not flowing, but the issue is not that simple. In essence, North Korea is pushing the situation to the point where they are embezzling excessive wages from the workers, causing them to suffer to the extent that they can't make a living. Hence, North Korean workers dispatched to China are causing disturbances. This is the reality. From the perspective of Chinese companies, they argue that they are paying what is owed, but it is going to North Korea, not the workers. Therefore, they see no reason to pay more. Currently, China has declared an unemployment problem, but employing North Korean workers means hiring them at wages lower than the average Chinese wage. Companies practicing this are fundamentally dependent on cheap labor, so they may not have the flexibility to raise wages. Therefore, when North Korea embezzles wages and workers are in distress, even if asked to pay more, China seems to say, "No, we cannot pay more." As a result, it appears to be evolving into a diplomatic issue. North Korea seems to be designating this problem in China as a major incident. The situation unfolding on the North Korean side involves dispatching consular and security officials to collect promises of wage payments to North Korean workers. However, as mentioned earlier, due to a lack of funds, from the Chinese perspective, it's already considered paid. There is a possibility that North Korea has already diverted or repurposed those funds for other uses and is unable to provide the necessary funds. Given the involvement of thousands of people in strikes and disturbances, a substantial amount is required to pay the wages of these individuals. However, if this cannot be arranged, the Chinese Communist Party and the North Korean regime could be seen as cooperating to exploit North Korean workers extensively. There is a term that describes exploitation without killing or causing disturbances, and they may be exploiting to the point where people cannot maintain their livelihoods. In such a situation, rather than waiting for a desperate situation, North Korean workers may be attempting to change the status quo through strikes and disturbances. This may reflect a historical pattern in China, where excessive exploitation by the regime causes discontent. Similar events seem to be happening in North Korea. When such events occur, the response may not necessarily lead to appropriate wage payments but could result in more stringent enforcement. The ruling power believes that by following the only means to obtain wages, they can prevent unrest. Noteworthy is that this incident occurred in Jilin province, but North Korean workers are present not only in Jilin but in various regions of China. There were also North Korean-run restaurants in areas where many Japanese people lived in Shanghai in the past. These restaurants, operated by North Koreans wearing ethnic costumes, served as a means for North Korea to earn foreign currency. Considering China's economic downturn and the challenges facing the restaurant industry, the embezzlement issue by the North Korean government may have widespread implications beyond Jilin province. In essence, economic decline is closely related to the deterioration of social order, and unexpected issues, such as North Korean involvement, have already surfaced in China. The difficulties faced are not limited to North Korean workers, and it is anticipated that there could be an increase in cases where Chinese citizens participate in strikes and protests in the future. That concludes our discussion for today. Until next time.